everyone, and welcome back to Freckles and Blondie, the weekly podcast where we break down the sometimes crazy and always entertaining show Lost. I'm Randi.
And I'm Tiffany.
And today we'll be discussing Season 2, Episode 1, Man of Science, Man of Faith. This episode was written by Damon Lindelof, one of the show creators, and directed by Jack Bender. And it originally aired on September 21st, 2005. So, here we are. It's a new year.
Yay!
New season of Lost. Yeah.
We timed our podcast so perfectly.
I know. Worked out so well. We're so good.
I don't know how we did that, but
I don't either.
We must be geniuses.
Obviously.
It's weird. We haven't done this in like almost a month, and it just feels very strange.
Yeah, it does feel very strange to be talking to each other and to other people.
Randi and I were like going through our checklist of all the stuff we have to do to prepare for this and making sure that we actually remembered how to do it.
Yeah.
Because we haven't taken a break this long since we started, which was in June.
Yeah, not even when I moved.
Yeah.
So.
Not even when you journeyed across the country.
Yes.
You can't just say moved, because that doesn't really cover the extent of what you did.
I like that. I'm going to start telling people I journeyed across the country.
On your grand exodus from Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
So I got lost for Christmas.
Woo!
Yay! But it was really complicated. I have a story to tell.
Please do.
Okay. So, okay. My family likes to do Amazon wish lists, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because, nobody knows what to get anybody, apparently. So, when Netflix was like removing Lost, I panicked and put Lost on my Amazon wish list, thinking everyone would just buy me a season of Lost for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
But then I saw this awesome deal for the entire series on Blu-ray and was like, ooh, Blu-ray. That sounds enticing.
Yeah.
So I went on my Amazon wish list and I deleted everything that I put on there. And normally if people have bought you something, it will be like, do you want to know if someone has bought this for you when you delete it? And if you say yes, they'll be like, somebody bought this. And if you say no, it's all good. So nothing like that. Okay.
Okay.
That does not happen. I buy the Blu-ray and then I, of course, get all the Lost DVDs for Christmas from like various people, which is fine. Like, it's not their fault that I was stupid, but I, went around to everybody and I was like, I actually kind of bought the Blu-ray and maybe I could return this. So, I had to awkwardly get the gift receipt from multiple people.
Oh no, that is awkward.
And that was difficult because Amazon customer service is horrendous. But here's where the story gets absolutely ridiculous. I put in the Blu-ray to watch the episode for this recording. And I'm so excited because, yay, Blu-ray, I'm going to see Lost in like the most beautiful way possible.
Uh-huh.
And it's all in Japanese. Like, inexplicably in Japanese. Like, the menus are all in Japanese, and I can hardly, like, figure out how to get to the episode. I just click random stuff, and then I finally get to the episode, and it's got, like, Japanese subtitles all over it, and it's so distracting. And I'm like, no, how did this happen? What is going on? And the listing for this particular thing that I bought said it was, like, the UK version of the Blu-ray. So I was like, UK version, well, whatever, right? That's, still English. It's fine.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But that is not fine, apparently. So now I have this set of Japanese Blu-rays. And all of the efforts my family members went to help me return my other ones were for naught, because now I need to use those DVDs.
This is a complete nightmare story. Like, oh my God.
It's ridiculous.
Wow.
So that's my story of obtaining Lost. And now I find out it's on Hulu.
Oh no. It's the absolute worst.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you look on like the reviews for those DVDs? Did anyone else have a similar problem?
Yes.
Like that?
They had this problem like the same week that I had this problem. Like the
Really?
reviews were all fine when I ordered. And then when I went back in to leave my angry review, there were like 10 other angry reviews.
It's so weird.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
And apparently like they don't even play for some people because there are like DVDs. I didn't even know this, that don't play in other countries. Like they won't play on an American made machine.
Yeah.
But they worked for me because I used the PlayStation, which I assume was made in Japan.
Oh, right. Right.
So I think I lucked out on being able to watch it at all.
Wow. What a mess. They need to get it together over there at Amazon.
Seriously, I don't know what on earth they're thinking. It's so deceiving because the packaging is all in English. It all looks totally fine until you actually play it.
I was going to ask you if the packaging was also in Japanese, but...
Nope. Everything looks fine.
Wow.
Ugh.
That is so weird.
I'm going to be real mad if I can't return this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for the Blu-ray.
Yeah, and then all your efforts of returning all the other lost DVDs will have been for nothing.
I know. This all went horribly, horribly wrong.
Oh my gosh. Well, I hope that gets resolved for you.
We'll conclude the saga next week, hopefully.
Yeah.
With better news.
I should be grateful I still have my old lost DVDs that I'm using.
You were smart. You invested in it from the beginning. Now the rest of us are just scrambling, trying to get our lost collection together. It's harder than it seems.
Clearly.
So that's my story.
Good to know. So, this episode, first episode of season 2, what were your feelings on this episode? It revolves around your favorite character, Jack. We all know that's Tiffany's favorite character. So
of course it does. Cause, we had 2 episodes that were not about Jack since the last episode about Jack. So we better have another one.
Right.
It's a little absurd. Just a little over the top. Damon Lindelof, I'm looking at you. But, other than my dislike for Jack, I thought it was good. I like almost all of the season openers and closers. They're always really good. I feel like this is it's kind of like in the middle for me as far as season openers go. Like, as if I'm remembering correctly. I feel like this one is kind of in the middle because the Hatch stuff, the whole reveal with the Hatch and Desmond and seeing what's in there, like freaking blew my mind when I saw it the first time. I was like, what is this?
It's iconic.
Yes, it's so good. And the flashbacks with Jack are really good and they like thematically fit the whole episode really well. So overall, I feel like it's pretty good.
Yeah, I do too. I think, I like Jack, so I enjoy his flashbacks and his story. I don't really, to be honest, I remember the season openers, obviously for season 1, and then I remember this one, and I remember next season, but I don't remember them for, like, seasons 4, 5, and 6, so I don't really know how I would rate this season opener among all of them.
I feel like it can't be rated as highly as the pilot.
Yeah.
I love it so much. But, as far as like wow factor, like plot twist, game changing kind of episode, it's definitely does that more than it does, or more than the pilot does.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's fun. And the story, I feel like it really works. And I feel like Jack is really, really annoying. I feel like he's supposed to be kind of annoying. Like, the things I have problems with, I think I'm supposed to have a problem with it.
Yeah. I feel like I already know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, then that just proves my point, because I guess bothered you too.
No, that's not what I said. I just, for now, I feel like I know how much you like your dislike of Jack so much that whenever he says certain stuff, I'm like, Tiffany's not gonna like this.
That's great. I think of those things when I'm watching too. I'm like, oh, Randy's gonna love this. Randy's gonna hate that.
Yep.
Yeah. And this episode has no Sawyer in it, so that's kind of a bummer too.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, there's no raft.
That's right.
They really leave you on a cliffhanger with that.
Yeah. Until next week.
So yeah, a Sawyerless season premiere. Tragic.
Sure. It's so sad.
But there's no room for it. Like, there's just no time for that. We have so much that's happening here and now.
Yeah, because I mean, that whole raft story ended so explosively last season. No pun intended. And then the whole Hatch story also was such a crazy ending.
Right.
You couldn't do both of those in like one 42-minute episode, I feel like.
Yeah, and while they're both cliffhangers, like, which is the more compelling story? It's what's in the hatch. So you have to start there.
Yeah, that was the last shot they ended season 1 with, so.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, things are about to get very interesting. Shall we get into it?
Yes, let's do it.
Alrighty. Previously on Lost, Rousseau warned the group that the others were coming. They gathered dynamite to blow up the hatch, and Hurley spotted his cursed numbers on the side of the hatch. A beeping noise sounds as we focus in on a man's eye. He jumps out of bed, goes to an older-looking computer, and types something in to make the noise stop. He puts a record on, and we get a montage of him going about his day, doing dishes, exercising, taking a shower, making breakfast, and injecting himself with some kind of medicine. When he's interrupted by an explosion, the man arms himself and uses a telescope and a series of mirrors to see what's going on outside. The camera pulls out to reveal the faces of Jack and Locke staring down into the now open hatch, and we cut to the credits. So yeah, I mean, we just said this, but it's such an iconic opening scene for Lost.
Do you remember watching it the first time?
Yes, it was insane because I remember when I first watched it, not thinking that it had anything to do with the hatch. I was like, this must be some flashback from some character we haven't met or just something totally different.
Yes. It doesn't even feel like it's our show. It doesn't feel like Lost.
Right.
Until he pulls out that thing and injects himself. And then I'm like, okay, that turned dark quickly. What's happening here? I guess we are watching Lost.
Yeah, because you've got that song that's playing. It's all happy. And, you know, he's just...
Like, I remember, this was so impactful to me. I remember, like, where I was sitting, who I was sitting with.
Do you?
Exactly where I was.
That's awesome.
And just my mind being blown. I was so excited.
Yeah, it's so surprising because, I mean, this guy has running water, electricity, food. He's playing music, and then when you find out he's been living, like, in the jungle in this hatch the entire time they've been surviving on this island. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those moments that, like, it changes the way you view everything that has happened so far, which is so awesome. Like, now you picture everyone who's been living on the beach and in the caves. Like, this guy has been here under their feet the entire time. That's so crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
And you have to wonder, like, is he one of the others? Is, like, what is happening? And especially with the quarantine thing, that, like, really freaked me out.
Yeah. Again, just another reason why they should not have gone down there.
But then we wouldn't get to meet our wonderful Desmond Hume. So
that's true.
It all works out for the best.
Oh, Desmond is the greatest.
I love Desmond too. I'm so happy we agree.
Yes. It's one character we can agree on 100%.
Whew, Desmond and Saeed.
And Hurley.
And Hurley, of course.
Coming back, Hurley is still freaking out about the numbers while Jack, Locke, and Kate stare down into the hatch. Since they won't be able to hide all of the survivors in the hatch before the others come, Jack wants to head back to camp. Locke and Kate are reluctant to leave, but Jack tells them to pack it up and that they can go exploring in the morning. Locke asks Jack why he doesn't want to go down into the hatch, and we cut to a flashback.
He is so rude.
I mean, not really. He has a point.
He has a point. He's so rude about it, though.
Wouldn't call it rude.
It's super rude.
It's a little short, but they've got things to do. Things are serious. The others are coming. They gotta go.
Who talks to someone who's like 30 years older than you in that way? He's like, we're done. Pack it up. And I'm like, stop talking to John Locke like that.
I mean, it's all about priorities. Like,
right, it is, but it's like, the correct way to say that is, I'm going back to camp because our people need us. You do what you want because you are a grown man.
Yeah, but I mean, I kind of read it as Jack doesn't want to leave anyone behind. Kind of like when he went after Locke when the smoke monster was coming after him. Like, maybe like someone like Saeed would be like, hey, do what you want, man. Like, we're going back. But Jack's like, this is a dangerous situation. We don't know what's down there. Like, I need you to come back with me so I don't have to worry about this. And I don't have to explain to the whole group where you are, you know? We've already lost one person on this expedition.
That is a very charitable way to read him. And, you know, if he had said it like that, it would be fine. It's just, he's such a jerk about it. I'm just stop
he's
being
not
so
a
mean.
Jerk. He's not even yelling. He's just a little short.
He's very short, and he's just acting like everything Locke says or does is such a burden to him. And I'm like, just go away then. If he's bugging you so much, just leave.
I don't know. Locke needs to get his priorities straight. I mean, Jack's got a point. This is like, I mean, the whole reason they went on this expedition, or the whole reason Jack did, was to try and find somewhere for everyone to hide. So now that that's not an option, it's like, what are we still doing here? We gotta go.
It just seems weird to me that he wouldn't even want to explore what's down there, because he doesn't know really that that's not an option.
Oh my god, I would never, you could give me $10,000 and I would never explore what is down there. Like,
they have a flashlight and everything. It's not that bad.
Tiffany! Oh my god. I would never.
You would never, but Jack wanted to blow this hatch up to see what was in there. He's not going to take 2 seconds to figure out if, like, maybe there's a ladder down there that we could use and then everything would be okay.
But, like, he can see the ladder's broken. And, like, Locke has, like, this spiritual connection to it. He wanted to know what was down there. Jack just wanted to know if they could hide people in there.
No, but if you don't check out what's in it, you don't know if you can hide people.
I mean, that's the only way in there, so, like Jack said, other than, like, lowering people one by one with a rope down there, which would take hours, it's not really a viable option.
I mean, I get, like, story-wise, they just need to do this. It just doesn't make sense to me, because I feel like when you explore it, you're like, oh, wait, cool, here's a ladder, we can use that, or hey, here's a door that we can easily go in and out of, and, like, just... You wouldn't know unless you go check it out.
Okay, I get it. I agree with Jack so much in this episode, mostly because I would never go in that hatch. Like, 1000%. There's 1,000 reasons not to go in there.
I know. You're Team Saeed.
No. Yeah, I'm absolutely Team Saeed. In a flashback, Jack's future wife Sarah is brought into the emergency room after a car crash. The other driver is also wheeled in. Both are dying, and Jack makes the decision to save Sarah while the man passes away. As they take Sarah to ICU and Jack leaves, Sarah whispers that she has to dance at her wedding. So I guess we should mention another one of those crazy coincidences that always comes up on Lost. That other man that dies when Jack is saving Sarah his last name is Rutherford. So that's Shannon's father.
I know, I read that and I had never made that connection before. Ever.
Really?
No.
Are you serious?
I don't think so. I've just never paid attention.
Oh, wow. That's funny. They call back to it later.
Oh, maybe.
Like in Shannon's episode.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Those little connections are always fun.
Yeah. And I shouldn't be surprised that you didn't pick that up, because I'm sure the only reason I knew that was because I read it on some online chat room or something back in the day. So
yeah, I feel like they'd throw the name away, but like that's the best way to do these kind of connections, is to just kind of make it subtle and not super over the top.
Yeah, definitely. At the caves, Charlie is telling everyone that the others aren't coming. Rousseau is crazy, and she lit the fire for the black smoke herself. Shannon appears to have lost Vincent. She starts to go after him herself, and Saeed follows.
I love Saeed's look in this scene where he clearly does not like Charlie trash-talking Rousseau.
Yeah.
You can tell he feels kind of protective of her. Okay. It's not
Right.
exactly how it went down, Charlie, but alright.
Yeah. I kind of thought that Saeed was thinking about the whispers that he heard in the jungle too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, even though he's told people that, I don't know if he really believes what those were himself, but, you know.
Yeah, but there comes a point when you hear enough people saying it that you have to start kind of believing it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's one of the themes in this episode, really. So they're gonna hit that over and over.
At the hatch, Hurley asked Locke why he blew open the hatch when he was yelling and screaming at him not to. Locke responds that he was just excited to get inside. That was the whole point of the mission. Along with saving everyone's lives, Jack reminds him. Kate points out the blown-off hatch door, which has the word quarantine stamped across it. Which, I mean, again, here's reason 424 why they should not go into this hatch.
Yeah, that's the most compelling reason to me. That's the thing that would make me pause.
Yeah. It's, serious. And, they had to get dynamite to even get into this thing, and then they find that quarantine sign? No, I would not be going anywhere near that hatch.
Yeah, it's a little disturbing. Can you imagine if they had never gone down there? When would Desmond have realized somebody blew up part of the hatch? Would he have come out and investigated? What would have happened?
Oh, it's such a good question. I feel like it would have taken him a long time to come out of there.
Yeah. But I mean, he's got his little mirror security system, so he should have noticed, fairly quickly. I don't know.
Yeah, but how often does he even look at that thing if he doesn't, hear anything going on outside?
Yeah, and how do you not hear the dynamite?
Yeah.
Or does he? Is that what?
He does hear the...
That's what makes him get his gun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he does hear it. So he would come check it out. I guess he would know for sure that he wasn't alone on the island then. Yeah.
That might have changed his whole perspective on what he's doing down there.
Yeah, so could be argued that they didn't even need to go down there. He would have come out eventually. But they don't know he's down there.
Yeah. Very true.
Anyway, sidetracked. Jack was really annoyed in the scene. Let me just point that out as well.
Oh, here we go. All right.
I wrote down what he said. He said, maybe it was just our destiny, right, John? And it just made me want to punch him in the face.
All right. Well, I kind of wanted to punch Locke in the face when he was that's the whole point of the mission was to get down there. I was no, it was kind of to save everyone's lives, like Jack said.
Everyone had their own agenda. Okay. We don't all need to be on the same page for everything. like, imagine that they're, like, kids at recess, and this one kid is like, I believe in this. And the other kid's like, really? Really? That's what you believe? That's how I picture Jack. And I'm like, no, that's what he believes in. Give him a break. Jesus Christ.
What an interesting metaphor.
That's how I feel.
I mean, I can see why you would feel that way, but they're not kids, and this is a serious situation. Someone has already died today, so.
It's just belittling, and it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Okay.
Sorry, you can go ahead. I just had to point that out.
I understand. I can see why you would say that. Shannon and Saeed are looking for Vincent, even though Saeed thinks it's a really bad idea. The dog will come back like it always does, but Shannon can't tell Walt she's lost his dog. They see Vincent, but he runs off, and the two of them are separated. Alone, Shannon trips and hears whispers coming from the trees. She sees Walt in the trees. He's soaking wet. She asks him what he's doing here, and he whispers something incomprehensible. Saeed shows up, and when Shannon turns back around, Walt has disappeared. So this is just super creepy.
Yes.
There's no explanation for it. It's just...
I don't think there ever will be.
Nope. We never really get one either. It's just bizarre. It's like, why Shannon? You know? That was my question after I watched the scene. I was like, well, obviously this ties back to, you know, how Walt was just taken from the raft. He's soaking wet.
Mm-hmm. He's like reaching out like to his dad.
Yeah. But it's just like, why?
Why does Shannon see him?
Yeah. Like, why her?
I don't know. I want to say like maybe Vincent was leading her to this. That's okay. The only thing I can think of, just because of Vincent and Walt's connection. But I don't really understand it at all.
Yeah.
What's crazy is when someone who has watched the series so many times, like, I have been told all the answers, supposedly, and I still don't get it.
You're right.
And I feel like that always happens with Walt, especially. He is like the greatest enigma on this show to me. Like, and maybe he's supposed to be, because he's so special. Because there's an explanation for a lot of these crazy meetings in the jungle that people have. Mm-hmm. But there's really no explanation for this other than perhaps Walt is special.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. They never really go into the reasoning behind that. And the hard thing, too, for me when I watch this scene is, you know, Saeed says that Shannon hasn't been eating or sleeping in a while. And part of me is just like, is she just seeing this in her head? Like, is this even real? You know?
It seems too much like the raft situation for it to be just something she imagined.
Yeah, that is true. But just the fact that we get no explanation for it almost makes me want to just write it off as being something that she made up. But
yeah, I feel like Saeed saying that is exactly what these characters do in these moments, though. They just write it off. Oh, I'm really tired, or oh, you're really tired, or, you know, you had too much of Locke's mystery paste. Something happened.
Yeah. That is true.
I do love that Shannon is trekking through the jungle trying to find Vincent. Because watching the dog was the only thing anyone ever asked her to do.
Yeah, which I get. But again, I mean, it's completely dark outside. The others are supposedly coming or not coming. Like, she really has no business wandering around out here.
But she can't lose Walt's dog.
Yeah, I guess. Walking back to the caves, Kate asks Locke why he wants to get into the hatch so badly, especially when there are so many reasons not to go down there. Locke guesses that Jack thinks he's crazy, and can't really blame him. He asks Kate if she also saw the column of smoke that almost killed him earlier, and when she nods, he says that they both must be crazy.
I love when he says, I wonder what Jack thinks he saw. Because to Locke, he's like, seeing that column of black smoke proves that there is something mystical at work here. So he's wondering, like, what does Jack think it is? Because clearly it didn't prove anything to him.
Yeah, because Jack's a realist. Like, he's gonna try and find the rational explanation for everything.
That's what bugs me, though, is that he actually saw it. I wish he didn't see it. I wish that Jack just, like, needed to believe, and that was why he couldn't. But the fact that he actually sees the smoke monster, he's one of 3 people who sees it. No. Did Hurley see it?
I don't remember.
I don't feel like he was there. But regardless, he's one of the very few people who sees the smoke monster, and he's still, like, is so resistant to the idea that there's anything special or extraordinary about this place. Like that, I don't get that because he saw it with his own eyes. So that seems like that should be the realistic, rational view at this point. Like, sure, other things may sound weird and crazy, but you've now seen your dead father running around and you have seen the smoke monster. Like, what more do you need? And that's like this whole episode really is just like, what does Jack need to believe?
I don't know if I would argue that he doesn't think this island is special. I mean, he obviously doesn't feel the same way that Locke does about it, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like if Locke went up and asked him about the smoke monster, I mean, Jack was right there. He was the one who was pulling Locke out of that hole. So
right.
How could you deny something like that?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. That's why it's so confusing that he seems to deny it. He seems to.
When does he deny it, though? When does he specifically?
He doesn't specifically deny the monster. He just, like, denies the idea of this special place or for them, like, being there to interact with it all. Like, he's so resistant to the idea.
I think there's a difference between denying that, like, the island is weird and weird things go on there to, like, totally believing in destiny and cursed numbers and things like that. I would argue there's, like, a subtle difference there that, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a difference. I just feel like if it was me, at the very least, it would open my mind to what these other people were saying. Like, when, you know, Locke's explaining how this island works, like, why don't you listen to it? Why don't you, like, give the guy trying to find out about this stuff a chance? Because you know it's weird. You know it's, like, crazy stuff is happening. So, like, why rule out any crazy explanation?
Yeah, I think it's just Jack's problem with Locke that kind of started with Boone's death. I don't think he's over that yet.
You think it's personal, not, like, about the idea itself?
I don't know. I feel like if it was another character who was having all these ideas about the island and faith and destiny, Jack would maybe be more open to the idea.
I don't think he would be, because when Hurley tells him the numbers are cursed, Jack doesn't want to hear anything about that.
Well, that's just a crazy story. I mean,
but
no one's gonna believe that.
It's the same thing as destiny, and it's like, this is a guy, like, it's Hurley of all people. Like, you trust Hurley. So, like, what will it take for you to believe something that is outside of what you know?
Yeah, I don't know. That's hard. I guess I'm too much of a realist to really see that, but I feel like if, even as much as I like Hurley, if he had told me that story, I wouldn't believe him either. Like, he even tells Charlie about winning the lottery, and Charlie's like, yeah, right, dude. And they're like best friends. So, it's just, when you talk about cursed numbers, like, even though they're on this crazy island with all these things happening, it's so out there. I don't know.
It's out there, but when I've seen a smoke pillar attack somebody, I am ready to believe. I'm like, what? Okay, what do you think is happening? Okay, what do you think is happening? I'm not like ruling anything out at this point, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if you open that door, then where does it end? Like,
that is the story of Lost. Where does it end?
Yeah.
This trait in Jack is extremely compelling in this storyline because, like, that is the thing I think he needs to overcome. Everyone's got their struggle that they're working on throughout this whole show, basically. And I feel like this is Jack's struggle, is he just can't let go or believe in something that he doesn't already know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I've always found that interesting about him.
Yeah. So, and I like this episode, the way it really draws that. I'm looking for the right word, but it really pulls that out and makes it explicit that this is a struggle for him. And even seeing is not believing for him. He needs something more, and we just don't know what that is yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Oh, I love Jack so much.
You know, as far as Jack episodes go, this one's pretty good.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you say that.
And I wouldn't even be bothered that we have so many if they just got rid of the last one that I didn't like. So we'll just pretend that one was not a Jack episode, and then we're right on track for this one.
Yeah, just forget that ever even happened, Tiffany.
I will. That's my new canon.
Great. Hurley tells Jack they'd better hurry up. He doesn't want Locke making time with his girl. Jack isn't in the mood for jokes, but Hurley points out that life isn't so bad, other than the fact that the others are coming to kill them all, and people occasionally blow up all over you. Jack asks Hurley about the numbers, and Hurley tells him his whole story. At the end, Jack asks Hurley if he was really in a psych ward, and Hurley insists that he's not crazy. He wants Jack to believe him, but Jack says they're just numbers. Hurley informs Jack that his bedside manner could use some work, and walks away.
Ugh, breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Hurley is like the puppy dog of Lost.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard because I want people to believe Hurley, but again, it is such a crazy story.
It is crazy, but he's right. Like, this is what happened. This is his story. And I just feel so sad for him that he just, like, you can tell he finds it hard to tell that story. Like, Jack kind of has to pull it out of him. He's like, no, you'll think I'm crazy. And when he finally tells the story, Jack ignores everything he says. And he's like, so you were in a psych ward? And that's all he gathered from it. And it's just so frustrating to, like, tell your story to someone and just be dismissed.
Yeah. Yeah, it is sad.
If you want to, like, garner sympathy in Lost, you have someone be mean to Hurley. Because Hurley is just, he makes your heart hurt if he's sad.
Yeah, he does. Hurley's great in this scene.
Yeah, and it sets up the next scene really well when he says your bedside manner sucks.
Yeah, it does. Although I feel like this, because this is mentioned, it'll be mentioned in future episodes, the fact that Jack has really bad bedside manner. But I feel like this is an inconsistent character trait of his.
I agree. I feel like he was pretty good in The Moth with Charlie.
Right. With Charlie, you could argue with Rose when he sat with her on the beach. Sometimes with Claire, it wasn't so bad. So it's like he's not always completely terrible like he is in the next scene. So I don't know what to think about it.
Well, I mean, so there's two ways. You can either think that the writers just decided to change that about Jack and going forward, that's just how they anticipate him being. Mm-hmm. Or we can think that in the past, his bedside manner was god-awful horrible, and it got a little better. And he's been working on it, perhaps, but it's still not good because he's still a jerk to Hurley. So, you know, he hasn't quite gotten there yet, I guess.
Okay, so it's like a work in progress.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
You could think of it that way. I don't know.
Okay.
It does kind of just feel like an inconsistent character trait.
Yeah. It's just always bothered me a little bit because they push that on him so much.
Yeah. We'll have to see, like, in the future if that's how he acts or if he has his good moments. It's a hard trait to give him when you want him to be the leader. Like, right. Because they expect the leader to make these, like, nice, uplifting speeches, but he has terrible bedside manner. So it's a hard thing to reconcile.
Right. If he had, like, the bedside manner that he shows in this next scene with Sarah and, like, with Hurley, like, from episode 1, I would have liked him a lot less. Yeah. But he's not always that bad, so.
Yeah. I mean, he's mostly just kind of all over the place. He's whatever that week's storyline needs him to be, unfortunately.
That is very true. At the hospital, Sarah wakes up and asks what happened to the other driver. Jack says he died in the ER. She can't feel anything, and Jack tells her that her back is broken. He'll perform surgery, but the chances of her getting any feeling back in her legs are very unlikely. Jack's dad asks him for a private word and tells him that he should try giving his patient some hope, even if the chances are terrible. Jack doesn't agree with giving people false hope.
Are you on Christian's side or Jack's side?
I'm more on Jack's side.
Really?
I mean, but that's just me. I'm more of a realist. I'm definitely a pessimist, so
you would rather have the doctor who says all that stuff he says to her than the doctor who says there's a chance that you could have your ability to walk.
Absolutely. Because I always think that if someone tells me there's even the small chance, but then it doesn't work out that way, that's so much more crushing than if I set my expectations low and then get happily surprised in the future.
I mean, I think I agree with you on like a day-to-day basis, but for something like my life and walking and, you know, use of my body, I think I want the guy with hope.
See, I feel like especially with something like my life, like I want you to tell me the worst case scenario immediately.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's a scary way to live your life.
I know. It probably means there's something very wrong with me.
I feel like, and I could be making this up in my head, but I feel like it's been scientifically proven that like hope and optimistic thinking heals you faster.
Oh yeah, I mean the correct answer here is yes, give people hope. But it's just not.
I feel like why would you ever choose to not have it?
I'm just damaged, okay? Actually, it's so weird because a few months ago, there was something wrong with my car. And to make a long story short, I took it to the dealership. They told me it was like my whole air conditioning system was like shot. It was going to cost me $800. So my dad being my dad, he looked up all this stuff online and he checked in my car and he was like, I think it's possible it could be a fuse that's blown and it'll only be a $30 fix. And I was immediately like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're not a mechanic. We can check this out, but it's probably not the case. And he was like, why are you being so down on me? I basically told you that you only have, like, I'm saving you hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, don't tell me, like, the possible good thing until it actually comes true. Like, I don't want to know that. And he could not understand it for the life of him. He was like, I don't understand why you have that outlook on things. And I'm like, just don't, because it's going to be so disappointing to me if it doesn't work out. Right. And it didn't work out. I had to pay $800, but like.
And now that is why you want the doctor who tells it to you straight.
Yeah. I mean, that's just an example of how I think about things.
Yes.
Again, I'm not saying that is the correct or the healthy way to do it, but that's just how my brain works.
No, I totally get that. I'm like that too. in a lot of circumstances. Cause,
Yeah.
you know, it sucks to have to go back on something you thought was going to happen.
Yeah, it does.
But I do think there's like a middle ground. And
yeah,
that's
a
I
good
think
point.
that's what, you know, Christian is kind of hoping Jack will find is the middle ground where you say, you know, it's bad. These things have happened, but we're going to do everything we can to fix you. And you just gotta hope for the best right now.
Yeah.
Instead of just listing off every ailment that you have that's going wrong, whatever Jack was doing. It was horrible.
Yeah. With such a straight
Your
face.
back is broken. Your lungs collapsed. Everything is wrong with you. And she's like, great. Awesome. Okay.
Right.
And he's like, all right, I gotta go get lunch. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually such good advice from Christian.
It is.
Like, this is kind of a surprising... I mean, their relationship has been very rocky, as we've seen in the past flashback episodes with Jack, but this was actually him giving him good advice for once.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen a mix from Christian. I think we've seen some good advice in the past, or at least some well-intended things, maybe not advice. I think it's obvious that Christian cares about Jack. This part is nice because it seems like he cares about the patients. And that's the part that I wasn't always so sure about when he's, you know, drinking on the job.
Right. Or it's just like, I wish we could have gotten this version of him when Jack was 12 and Christian was giving him advice. You know, it's just...
Well, that version of him may have existed. We saw a bad moment. I feel like he's just an inconsistent guy. He's like a good guy who struggles with alcoholism and has some really bad moments.
Yeah, that have far-reaching consequences.
Yes.
For Jack, at least.
Well, yeah. I mean, for Jack, for people at the hospital.
Patients, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a rocky guy, but I think he wants to be a good guy. He struggles.
Yeah, you can definitely see that in this scene.
And he cares about Jack. Like, I think we've been pulling that out in the last few episodes we've seen him in, that he does care about Jack and he does know his son very well.
Yeah, definitely. At the caves, Shannon is telling everyone that she saw Walt in the jungle. Saeed tries to stop her, and everyone is freaking out when the group arrives back from the hatch. Jack gets up and tells everyone about the hatch and their now failed plan to hide everyone inside. He also gives them the bad news about Dr. Arst, and people start to lose it again. Jack insists that everyone is going to be okay. They'll put lookouts with guns around the caves. He promises they'll all be safe as long as they stay together. Locke, of course, is having none of this. He gathers up some cable and tells Jack he's tired of waiting and he's going into the hatch tonight.
So, first of all, I love that when everyone else sees crazy stuff happening in the jungle, they're like keeping it to themselves, like, oh, I must have imagined that. But Shannon comes back and immediately tells everyone everything.
No! It's so true. Like,
It's
with
perfect.
no hesitation.
That's exactly
apparently.
what Shannon would do. She does not mince words. She's just here to tell you exactly what she thinks. And Saeed's like, no, Shannon, you need to stop.
Right.
But she doesn't care.
Yeah, it's kind of great.
It is kind of great. And then everyone reacts the way people react when they hear something they don't understand. They just tell her that she's crazy. And that's just the story of this episode.
Yeah. It is. It gets repeated a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I love that this parallel theme is happening with Shannon, Hurley, and Locke, who are believing something that everyone else finds unbelievable. And just, you know, the frustration and isolation of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, Shannon's pretty brave for, sharing that with everyone. I would definitely keep that to myself if I'd seen Walt in the jungle like that.
Yeah, I feel like I would keep it to myself too, but I would so admire somebody who didn't.
Yeah.
Like, I love people like that. I surround myself with people like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I admire her for, you know, being brave enough to put that story out there. Just like I admire Hurley for telling that story to Jack, even though it wasn't well received. So.
Yeah. It's a vulnerable thing to say something that's unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not sure why Locke couldn't have waited 3 hours to at least go exploring when it's light outside. Doesn't that make so much more sense? If you're going to go down there, wait till the sun comes up.
It does. It makes way more sense. But Locke is tired of waiting. He cannot wait another second.
Clearly.
He's been waiting to get into attached for weeks.
It's just so ill-advised.
I love that, though, that he just cannot wait. He cannot wait 2 seconds. He's like a kid on Christmas morning, and he's just done. He's like, I've been waiting all December, and here it is. I must do this. He's just, he's boiling over with curiosity. It's just great.
As much as I don't like him, I find it so hilarious that he doesn't even wait until Jack has really finished his big speech before he goes. He's like
in the background just packing up.
Exactly. Like not even trying to be subtle at all.
Don't mind me, guys.
Funny. Yeah, I'm just like contradicting everything Jack just told you about staying together and we'll be fine. Oh, Locke.
It's so wonderful. And Jack's speech is really nice. It's like exactly what everybody needs right now. I just don't know where it comes from because it just doesn't seem like this is what he believes.
Right. Especially after he just had that conversation with Hurley.
Right.
And Hurley was like, you need to work on your bedside manner. Exactly. And then he says all of this. It's like, okay.
I know. It's like there's two Jacks. Mm-hmm. There's like this nice Jack who gives the great inspirational speeches and he heals people and, you know, he like jokes around with Sawyer. But then there's like the other Jack who's just like mad about everything. I can't reconcile the two. And like Kate kind of alludes to it later where she's like asking him about this speech where she kind of points out that this is inconsistent. But it's not just this speech. It's every time he makes a speech like this, it's kind of inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, he has given a couple of these types of speeches in the past. Mm-hmm. So I would maybe say that he's just trying to be the leader that, you know, he's supposed to be, that they all kind of elected him to be. He's trying to do that to his best ability, but yeah, it still seems to come kind of out of nowhere. So.
Yeah, so like, does it come down to he's saying these things because people need to hear them, not because he believes them?
Right, I don't know. And if that's true, then he's giving everyone the false hope that he just mentioned in his flashback that he does not like doling out to people. So, I mean, I don't know.
It's very confusing.
It is. It's very confusing. Kate comes over to Jack and tells him he did a good thing by giving everyone some hope and something to count on. She's surprised because Jack's not usually a glass half full kind of guy. They're giving each other so many looks, in my opinion. and then Kate informs him that she's going to the hatch to help Locke. He could fall and break his neck, and we wouldn't want that, would we? Live together, die alone, Kate reminds him before walking away.
And Jack's like, that is so not what I meant, Kate. Come back here.
Yeah, exactly. We were having a moment and you had to ruin it.
And she like trails off at the end of that. Like, I didn't have my subtitles because obviously everything was in Japanese, but she said, if you weren't here, Jack, and then she just like trails off, right? Like she never finishes the sentence.
Yeah. These two, they really kill me.
If Jack weren't here, who do you think would step up and be the leader?
Good question. I would say Saeed, probably.
That's who I was thinking too. I know that like originally the creators said they wanted it to be Kate.
That's right.
But I definitely see it more from Saeed. just because Kate's a wanderer, she seems like more solo, you know, not a team player.
Yeah, she's into her own thing.
Like, she's always there to help people, and she's always gonna help people, but she's gonna be on the dangerous mission, not leading the group.
Right, exactly.
Though I guess Jack always does that too, so maybe she'd be exactly like Jack is. I don't know.
Maybe. This whole Kate going after Locke, I don't know why she's doing this.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, Locke didn't show, to me, Locke didn't show any signs of wanting or needing any help when he, roped up his cable and walked away. He was totally I'm doing this by myself, bye.
Yeah.
So I'm just struggling to see why Kate feels like she needs to do this. She clearly doesn't want to be there when they get to the hatch later on. I just don't know what to think about it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then when she arrives at the hatch, Locke says he was waiting for her because he knew she would come.
Yes.
And it's just so great.
It's not great. It's awful.
And I don't know how to explain this thing in Kate, but she is so drawn to whatever the dangerous situation is. That's the only way I can articulate what she does. I know she needs to be involved. She needs to go check it out. And I don't know what it is in her. They always say Kate needs to run, but it's not like she's running away. It's something else. She's just, she's drawn to the action, maybe? I don't know.
It makes me want to figure it out because we were talking about this at the end of last season when Kate had to go on the mission to Black Rock with them. And then she had to carry that. She had to be one of the ones to carry the dynamite.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't really, I don't understand it completely.
Yeah, I don't either. But it does seem almost like a danger thing. She must do the thing that is the most dangerous. And I don't know if that's like the way Sawyer does, where it's sort of a self-punishment thing. I've done bad things in my life, so I should do this dangerous thing in case something goes wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I can definitely see the connection to the way Sawyer punishes himself a lot of the time. But I don't like this trait of hers.
Yeah. It gets her into trouble, but, that's fun.
Sure.
It's fun to get Kate into trouble.
Yeah. In a flashback, Jack is talking to Sarah's fiancé about her upcoming surgery. He tells Jack the wedding is in 8 months and asks about her recovery and if they'll be able to make love. Jack tells him Sarah may need professional care for the rest of her life, and her fiancé doesn't look too happy. In the operating room, Sarah tells Jack that she knows she won't be dancing at her wedding and that he's still invited. Jack tells Sarah that he's going to fix her.
So that fiancé is a real asshole.
Yep. Real jerk.
It's a little heavy-handed. It's almost like in that episode with Claire with her boyfriend who's just such a jerk.
Yeah.
And you're okay, I know he's a jerk.
Fair point. He's saying everything wrong in the scene.
Yeah. Could he have asked about anything before asking if he could have sex with her?
Yeah, exactly.
Even if he just looked kind of freaked out at the thought that she couldn't walk anymore, that would have been kind of enough to tell you who this guy is. If he's second guessing his marriage to someone because now she has a disability, you already suck for that. We don't need to go into whether you want to have sex with her or not.
Yeah, it makes me, I'm wondering where did she find this guy?
Right. I know, and she seems so great. She's making jokes on the operating table.
Yeah.
What kind of bad taste do you have?
Yeah, definitely. He's just the worst.
But the moment from Jack is perfect, where he says, I'm going to fix you.
Yeah, especially after he gave her no hope of recovery whatsoever. Mm-hmm. It's nice.
Where do you think it comes from? Do you feel like it's his dad who kind of made him think this? Or is it Sarah?
I feel like it's more Sarah. I feel like there's like a growing connection between them, especially after he just had this conversation with her fiance who's, they're supposed to spend the rest of their lives together and he's clearly, like you just said, an asshole. So I feel like that makes Jack a little bit more determined.
He's like, you are getting into a terrible marriage. The least I can do
is
fix this.
Exactly. So you don't have to rely on this jerk for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where it comes from, but I like it.
I like it too. At the hatch, Kate finds Locke preparing the rope. Locke tells her that he was waiting for her with his trademark smile. Locke wants Kate to go down first because she's lighter and he can pull her back up more easily. Kate clearly doesn't want to go down there, but for some reason, she decides to do it anyway.
I think you're projecting, Randi.
Probably. After Locke almost drops her, she starts to count to 5 when a bright light appears. It goes out, and Kate suddenly disappears. In what I would argue is one of the most unsurprising scenes of this entire show. Of course she gets dragged down there. Like, duh. Of course. Oh, God. This scene drives me absolutely crazy.
Are you kidding? I was just about to say I love every second of this scene.
Are you serious?
Yes. I love that Locke knew Kate was coming because he knows everybody so well. I love that he wants to throw Kate down there because it just makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. She is lighter. He should carry her. Why should she carry
this
him?
hatch is his baby. He should be the one going down there first. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. They could switch. That's fine. But the callback to the 1, 2, 3 from Kate is so lovely. So it just, like, isn't it worth it to scare Kate just to get that moment?
I do love when she starts to count to 5.
So it was all worth it.
No, I don't know about that, but yeah, I've said before, like, one of the reasons why I love Jack and Kate so much is that first meeting between them when he told her that story and the way she comes back to it, like, every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, like, she'll never forget that first story he told her.
Yep.
And I could think of, like, so many people in my life, like, important people who, when I think about the first time I met them, like, I don't remember that meeting at all.
Right.
I mean, granted, this is like the plane just crashed, whatever, but
yeah,
I love it so much.
It's really good. I love that callback too. It's a good reminder in this episode where Jack is not being likable a lot of the time. And that's intentional. He's not supposed to be likable all the time. Mm-hmm. But to like call back to this like nice moment that Kate had with him and to remind you like that there is this connection. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's lovely. But I still don't think it excuses the rest of the nonsense going on in this scene.
Okay. You know Kate wanted to do it anyway.
No, she didn't. She did not want to go down there. I feel like Locke kind of manipulated her into coming after him, especially when he gives that creepy smile.
How did he manipulate her into coming after him? He just grabbed his stuff and left.
Yeah, but he knew, Locke knows people. He knew she was going to come after him, and he just didn't want to go down there first in case she died tragically.
There's a difference between knowing to come and forcing her to come. He did not force her to come.
He knew she was going to come when he smiled at her as soon as she showed up. And I mean, she doesn't, this would all not drive me as crazy if I feel like she wanted to go down there, but she's so scared. She like clearly doesn't want to go down there. And it just drives me crazy. Yeah. Locke should be down there. It should be Locke. He could have tied that rope around a few more trees to make it easier for Kate to belay him or whatever. Like, oh.
You know, it's funny because it does seem like she doesn't want to go down there, but it's so consistent to her character for her to be the one to go down there. So I have like mixed feelings about it. I get what you're saying because she's clearly scared, but like they have to make her scared to get that wonderful callback to the counting.
That's true.
So I don't know.
That's true. I'm just being overdramatic, but it really does drive me crazy. Like, mostly because, like I've said 1,000 times, I would never, ever go down that hatch, especially when it's dark and you're on a rope. Like, so the fact that, like, Locke makes her do it kind of is just like, ugh, no, I can't. But anyway. At the caves, Jack is loading a gun and preparing to go to the hatch. He tells a disbelieving Hurley that he changed his mind. When he gets to the hatch, he finds the rope leading down into it, but no Kate or Locke. So he reluctantly climbs in after them. And I love it. It didn't even take him 5 minutes, it seems like, before he was like, yep, going after Kate.
Yep, it's like this chain reaction. Locke's going in, Kate's going to the action, Jack's going to Kate.
Yeah, so true. In a flashback, Jack is running up and down the stairs of a stadium, which seems like my idea of torture, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, you do you, Jack. Another man starts running close by, and Jack trips and falls. The guy comes over and examines his ankle, asking Jack if he's okay. He tells Jack he's training for a race around the world, and Jack says he's trying to work out a few things regarding Sarah. He says he promised he would fix her, but failed. The guy says what if he did fix her, but that would take a miracle, and Jack doesn't believe in those. The stranger tells Jack to keep his leg elevated, introduces himself as Desmond, and says, "See you in another life," before running off.
Hello, Locke 2.0.
Oh, don't say that. I like Desmond.
Yeah. Oh,
Kind of
that's an
true,
interesting conflict.
Yeah.
I mean, in this scene, he is very much John Locke. When Jack says, "I failed," and he says, "But what if you didn't?" This is exactly like the scene in White Rabbit when Jack is talking about seeing his dead father, and Locke's like, "But what if it was real?"
Yeah. So true. I don't know what it is about Desmond. He's just so captivating and charismatic, like almost immediately.
He is. He's instantly charming. It's because he's Scottish.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe it's that Scottish accent.
You can't resist it. So maybe if Locke were Scottish, you'd be Team Locke all the way.
That's so true. Which just shows how shallow of a person I am, so.
Clearly. That's the whole problem.
Oh, God.
Yeah, when he says, "See you in another life," brother, I feel like that is another moment where all the fans were like, "Oh my gosh, this is purgatory." Even though the creators were like, "This is super not purgatory."
Yeah.
Like, I always read that as kind of like meaningful. See you in another life. And then he sees Jack in another life.
Yeah. Definitely. That's kind of like, not to spoil anything, that's one of his trademark sayings. See you in another life. So, yep. They probably just put that in there because they knew it would drive us crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Jack cautiously enters the hatch with a flashlight and a gun. He comes across a painted mural and a wall where the key around his neck is pulled by a strong magnetic force. A bright light appears and loud music starts playing. Jack enters a room with machines and a computer, but when he goes to press the execute button, Locke tells him not to touch it. Jack raises his gun and asks where Kate is, but then Locke is revealed to be at gunpoint. So yeah, there's lots of interesting things in this scene as we kind of go through the hatch.
Yes. Lots of little clues dropped here and there about things to come that I feel like are really hard for us to talk about.
Yes. Very tricky.
Yes, but it's all very interesting.
Yeah, it's like the first scene almost again. Like as I'm watching this for the first time, I'm like, what the hell is this place? Why is this here?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's nice to see that through Jack's eyes.
Yeah, definitely. In our last flashback, Jack is sitting by Sarah's hospital bed when she wakes up from surgery. He tells her he was running a tortoise dad because he's intense. That line was ridiculous, by the way.
I know. I laughed so hard. I had to pause and gather myself.
I don't know who wrote that line, but no.
It's like something a 13-year-old boy says when he's writing poetry. Exactly. And you're like, why did you write this poem about death and blood and guts? Because I'm intense.
That's so true.
Okay.
It's so weird for him to say that to her in this moment. Oh, God. Anyway, Sarah asked if her fiancé Kevin is here, but Jack hasn't seen him. Jack tells her that he did everything he could, but he couldn't fix her, and she'll be paralyzed for the rest of her life. However, Sarah informs Jack that she can move her toes, and they discover that she has feeling in her legs after all. They're both crying, and I guess miracles really do exist.
Duh.
It's cute. I like this scene. Again, if it's just kind of ruined by the I'm intense line, but other than that, it's nice.
Yes. After that line, it's beautiful.
Oh, you know, that intense line bothered me almost as much as Sawyer's line in Confidence Man, when he was like, I'm just a guy in a jungle of mystery or something like that. Do you remember that line?
I do. I don't remember it exactly. I remember what
I don't either.
I don't remember it bothering you.
I hate that line so much.
That's
it's
so
like
funny.
So dumb, and this line feels very similar.
Yeah, see, I thought that was hilarious, and this is just like
I know.
Wrong. This is interesting because okay, so why is Jack so emotional? Is it because he thinks he failed? Like in the beginning, he thinks he failed. I'm wondering about that because back in the day, that's what Christian was saying about Jack, was that he just can't handle it if he fails.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has told her that he'll fix her, and then he thinks he's failed, and he can't handle it. Not really. You know, most doctors don't, start sobbing in front of you.
I mean, I feel like it's a combination of a lot of things. It's a combination of how much of a jerk her fiancé is, the fact that he promised her right before they went into surgery that he would fix her, the connection that they're obviously feeling toward each other. I feel like it's all of those reasons why he gets so emotional.
But I was thinking, where did this, horrible bedside manner and this, closed offness come from? And I feel like it's a self-preservation thing. Like, if you can't handle failure or disappointment, like you were saying, then you're gonna only focus on, the negative, and you're not gonna go for that 1% of hope. You're gonna be like, well, this is definitely not gonna work. Because you can't handle the, feelings of it not working. So, that could be some sort of explanation as to, why he is this way.
I love that. That has to be so true. Oh, wow. I never thought of it like that, but
Christian knows him so well.
He really does. Oh, that's crazy.
This is the first time, you know how you said that you related to Jack? This is the first time I can understand you relating to Jack.
Now I'm thinking of how I handle failure and how I'm the same way. This is just a huge revelation.
You never knew you were going to learn so much by doing this podcast.
But yeah, can you kind of see how he's relatable in that way?
Yes. And I think that while we're saying that this is kind of inconsistent for Jack, I mean, my problem in season 1 was that there wasn't a lot of depth to him, and this gives him depth. So it's a good thing to give him this struggle. And I think that's why this episode doesn't bother me like most of his episodes have.
Yeah, I mean, I would even argue that this is, out of the 4 episodes we've gotten about him, this is the best one.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm trying to remember them all specifically, but
yeah, you probably blocked them out.
No, I definitely think it is, though. I think there's, like, some good moments from the other ones, but this overall, it's really good, it's really relevant, and we actually learn something about Jack.
Right.
That matters.
Yeah. That kind of folds in to, you know, the things we learned about him in his very first flashback episode, White Rabbit. So
they're trying to get Jack back on track.
Yeah, for people like you who hate him.
Well, it's not even just hating. It's that he needed depth like the other characters have. And I've always felt like he didn't have enough depth. He wasn't complicated enough like everyone else on the island. And this is like the perfect wrinkle to give him.
Yeah. And I just find him so relatable. So.
And I finally get it.
I'm so glad. In the hatch, the gunman tells Jack to put down his gun or he'll shoot Locke. Jack asks again where Kate is, but the gunman just shoots the ceiling in response. Jack asks Locke if this is his destiny that he was talking about earlier, and Locke tells him to calm down. The gunman finally steps out from behind the wall. It's Desmond, and Jack seems to recognize him. And on that cliffhanger, we cut to the credits.
Locke has a gun to his head, and Jack's like, this is a good time to mock John for his beliefs.
I know. I kind of love it. Because Jack didn't want to go down in the first place. God. And he's like, is this what you were talking about? Is this why you had to get down here right away? But
Jack. Get it together, dude.
But yeah, what a way to end the episode.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yep.
It's so great to have Jack's very thematically relevant backstory that also has Desmond in it. Like, yes. Desmond being in it is like the cherry on top to what would have worked fine without it. Like, that could have just been some random guy, and that scene would have worked out just fine. But to make it Desmond just makes it awesome.
Yeah, it just takes it to a whole another level.
Yes.
It's so good.
It's like we're doing everything we possibly can to make Jack believe that extraordinary things can happen.
Yes.
Like, we've got Desmond here, and we have, you know, Sarah's miraculous recovery. Everything on the island. It's like this whole thing is his test to see what will make you believe.
Yeah. And it just makes me interested to see, like, what's going to happen next. Is he going to turn a corner? Or is he going to keep denying everything?
Yeah, exactly. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Though at this point, you're like, dude, nothing's going to convince this guy.
Yeah.
I just saw a smoke monster come out of the ground. Doesn't even care.
Yep.
Good episode.
Yeah. Talking about it made me like it even more. So.
Me too, actually. I love when that happens.
Yeah, me too.
It's sad when I talk about it and I just make myself hate it.
I know. Those are the worst episodes.
So I had to look up some stuff for Desmond's name.
Oh, yes. Please tell us.
Because of course. So Desmond does not have any significance, really. Though I thought it was weird because when I looked up Desmond, it's Irish and not Scottish. So
really?
I thought that was strange.
That's strange.
But maybe they just chose it because it sounds a lot like David from David Hume, the Scottish philosopher.
Oh, right.
So, okay, I'm no philosophy expert. And my husband actually minored in philosophy. He loves philosophy. So you would think he would love this show, but he doesn't.
Know that.
Because he's a jerk. Yes, he loves philosophy because he loves arguing with people.
Oh, yes, I do remember that.
That sounds like exactly the person I would marry. But anyway, I asked him to sum up David Hume in like a word. And he said skepticism, which is what I remembered about David Hume too. So, skepticism is kind of what he introduced. He was more of like, more about criticizing things, not in like, criticizing the way you criticize literature, where you're like learning from things when you criticize. Like we criticize Lost.
Right.
We're not trying to hate Lost. We're just studying it and picking it apart. Mm-hmm. So he thinks you should do that with everything in life, pretty much. He's just forever the skeptic.
Sounds like an exhausting way to live.
Yeah, exactly. But it's very relatable. Like for me, mm-hmm. like I remember when I took philosophy, he was my favorite one to learn about. And I still don't really remember it very well, but I do remember that he was my favorite.
Yeah.
So I wrote down a couple things that I read about David Hume. And Hume held that passion rather than reason governs human behavior and argued that all human knowledge is ultimately founded solely in experience. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And of course the skepticism stuff, which kind of boils down to contradiction. You can contradict anything. But in doing that, Hume's goal was to explain why people believe what they do. So,
okay.
I don't know. I find that, like, the goal of all that to be really interesting. Like, to contradict someone in order to figure out why they think that.
Yeah, it makes me think of Locke, just as a character. When you call Desmond Locke 2.0,
That's so true. That is what they both said. They were both said, but what if blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So Hume believed that the most reasonable position is a mitigated skepticism, in which you humbly accept the limitations of human knowledge while still pursuing the legitimate aims of math and science. So science is legitimate and it should be studied and adhered to, but you have to accept the limitations of your knowledge. And I feel like that's so relevant to Jack.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you're doing a worthy thing by focusing on the scientific aspects of all this, but then you have to accept that there's a limit that it can't reach.
Yeah, which I'm sure, well, it's obviously hard for someone like Jack to accept that, so.
Yes. So, it's interesting that this is all related to Desmond, like, that his last name would be Hume, because, well, it's hard to talk about because we haven't gotten to spend a lot of time with him yet, but it will become really interesting later.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know when he really becomes, like, a main character. I feel like it takes a while, but we'll definitely have to circle back to some of those things later on. We learn more about him and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it doesn't spoil too much to say that while we have Jack on one end of the spectrum and Locke on one end of the spectrum, Desmond can kind of play the guy in the middle.
Yeah, definitely.
And that fits really well with that theory of skepticism because you wouldn't adhere to any belief super strongly.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting.
Yes. He has one of those names where you just, like, have to read into it. It's like they're asking you to. Desmond Hume, David Hume. Like, come on, Lost.
Yeah, you gotta do it.
Just like John Locke.
Yeah.
I've now, like, put them together in my head.
Yeah.
So, after all that, in this really long episode, what kind of theme did you think was going on here? I feel like we had to have thought of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious theme here is just science versus faith, right? Like, that's kind of what they're talking about this whole episode. Jack's flashbacks, he kind of gets tested on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you phrased it in the Jack way and I phrased it in the Locke way. Because I said, how do you believe in the unbelievable?
Wow. Yeah, you definitely phrased it in the Locke way.
It's funny because in our world, in our day-to-day life, Like, Jack is right, and he is the normal one, but on this island, I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like he's the one who's wrong, and he is surrounded by people who are believing in extraordinary things. It's ironic.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this episode kind of shows both Jack and Locke being tested in their beliefs. Like, I mean, you could argue that, you know, Jack finding Desmond in the hatch is more than just coincidence. It's fate, because how crazy are those chances? Mm-hmm. And then with his flashbacks with Sarah getting healed, like, it's, you know, it's such a miracle that Jack doesn't believe in.
Right. He has every reason to believe in fate, but he won't.
Right. And then you could even say for Locke that, I mean, we don't really know how he's feeling at the end of this episode, but maybe he's thinking that the hatch doesn't have all the answers, since Desmond is, like, holding a gun to his head. Like, maybe he doesn't hold all the miracles that Locke clearly hoped it would, you know? So, I don't know.
I think it takes a lot more than that to shake John Locke.
I'm sure, but I feel like he was expecting rainbows and whatever else to be down in this hatch, and that's not exactly what he got right away, so.
I actually don't like the title to this episode.
Oh, really?
I love that theme, but I still feel like there are episodes where we will talk about this more and better, like the Man of Science, Man of Faith. I don't feel like we get Locke's perspective very much in this episode, like a little. It's just consistent with what we've gotten from him in the past. But this is Jack's episode and Jack's struggle. So, like, this Man of Science, Man of Faith, I don't feel like we're really seeing that conflict coming to a head quite yet. We're just kind of setting it up.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I kind of like it because even though this is Jack's episode, I feel like the whole Jack versus Locke thing is such a central plot point that's running throughout this whole episode.
Yeah. It almost signals, like, the theme that we're going to have for season 2. Mm-hmm. They're just letting you know in the first episode that this is something we're going to be wrestling with.
Right. Which I kind of like. But...
yeah. And I like that our tiny, tiny sub-story going on with Shannon fits right into the theme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a well-written episode. No surprise, as it's written by Damon Lindelof.
Yes, it's lovely. It's very good. A+ Damon Lindelof. Mm-hmm. Leaving us in suspense about our raft folk and everything. It's horrible.
Yeah, how dare you. Alrighty, that's going to do it for us this week. If you're enjoying the show and want to get more involved, you can check out our Instagram page at The Lost Podcasts and our Facebook page at Freckles and Blondie. You can also visit our website at thelostpodcast.com. And if you're feeling super generous, you can visit our Patreon page and give $1 a month or whatever you can afford. Also, we're always looking for people to rate, review, and subscribe to the show on iTunes. So don't forget to leave your reviews. We really appreciate those.
Yes, mega.
Yeah. Join us next week when we'll be discussing season 2, episode 2, called Adrift, where we get to catch up with the fallout from the raft.
Yay, much needed Sawyer sarcasm.
I'm sure you'll love that today. So until next time, I'm Randi.
And I'm Tiffany.
And this has been Freckles and Blondie.